I grew up in a home of addiction, some sexual abuse, various traumas. When I hit my early 20s, I found what I thought was a solution to all of my problems, and it was at the bottom of a bottle. But as I entered adulthood, fatherhood, marriage, things started to get worse and worse. I even got to the point of trying to take my own life. After being incarcerated, going through a divorce, and struggles with my children, I knew something had to change.
All right, what's going on, everybody? That was tonight's guest, the Knockin Doorz Down Podcast host, Jason LaChance. I'm Daniel Unmanageable, and this is Hard Knocks Talks, coming at you from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Treaty Number 6 territory, and the traditional homeland of the Métis people. Let's bring in Jason. What's going on, buddy?
Yo, brother, what's happening?
Oh, nothing. Just talking a bunch of shit in the countdown and desperately trying to download pictures that I was supposed to, but didn't.
It's all right, man. I sent you a lot. There's a lot of shit to download.
There is a lot.
I wanted you to have a story. I tried to, give you stuff enough for a story here.
Oh, I got a story, and I only managed to download about 6 of them before we had to end the countdown there, but... Anyways, we'll get into as many of them as we can. Is there anything that you'd like to say before we jump in tonight?
Man, it's just a real pleasure to be here, and it's kind of cool. Donna and I were talking before we started going about social media, so it's great to have made friendships like the one you and I have. Who would think, 1,000+ miles away, and it's like,
just
man,
besties.
I know you, you know me.
We're just besties.
We know the story.
Yeah,
you feel, you just, that's the thing in the power of this recovery community, we just we go, oh man, yeah, I know what shit you're talking about. I feel you.
Well, there's this saying in the groups, in the church basements, they say what we can't do alone, we can do together. And I think there might be something there. I'm just saying, I'm not endorsing any sort of fellowship, but they might have a couple things right. So anyways,
just skosh.
Let's dive in.
This is Hard Knocks Talks.
Okay, before we jump in, I just want to let our viewers and listeners know that tonight's live production is sponsored in part by Prairie Harm Reduction in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. So, we have a very serious question to jump off with. Todd from Bunny Hugs and Mental Health is asking, is Jason cold?
Todd, they have me keep the heater down in here. No, I like it. I'm like Marty McFly. This is my life preserver. The dork doesn't want to drown. No, I just like this coat. It's pretty thin, actually.
I don't know why I put that on screen. I don't take anything Todd says with any merit anyways. He just is always talking shit. He is a fellow podcaster, and we love him.
That's the way it should be, man. Hey, let's talk shit. That knows that you can get along with someone, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like in my family, for example, like if people aren't making fun of you, that means they don't like you. So
Agreed.
Yeah. So anyways, this isn't about Todd. This is about Jason. So we heard a little bit about your story briefly in the hook there. Why don't you tell us a little more? I know that you're obviously a person in recovery. How did this all get started for you? Was there a lot of substance use growing up?
Yeah, Dad. Well, I mean, addiction on both sides of my family, Daniel. Kind of discovering that later in life. But my dad was an addict, but it was hidden real well from my older brother and I. I got one older brother. But in reality, I would say the first addiction really I ever had was pornography, not understanding that it was in my household. My dad was a truck driver. It was in the shop. It was in the house. And then I went through an instance of molestation with he had to have been in his 40s when I was about 5-6 years old. It was about where I figured it out. So I always just kind of felt like how many times you hear a guy share in a meeting and go, I just felt like I didn't fit in. So I always felt like I didn't. Yeah,
that's like
all of
you
us.
Almost have to not feel like you fit in to fit in there.
Yeah, and so I went all through high school and everything else. Buried a lot of feelings like so many of us do, and really oddly, I was a late bloomer with substance use. I was the guy that got drunk girls home from parties and everything else like that. But once I hit about 22 and I started working in radio broadcasting, it's kind of when, oh, I'm finding some solutions for this anxiety. And it could be as simple as, the boss at the time, like on a Friday, I was doing an afternoon show co-hosting, and hey, we're gonna go to the bar first, and we'd get fucked up before we even got on air, and it was like it was supported. We're going to a concert, or you're gonna this weekend you're bringing Papa Roach on stage at the Catalyst in Santa Cruz. Well, having so much anxiety about it, what solves that, right?
So
Popping 2-3.
Tell us about the first time, like the first time that you got loaded. Tell us about that. Was it like you arrived home, or what was it like?
A group of friends. One of my best friends was heading off to the army, and I had like tasted champagne and stuff like that at weddings when I was like 17 or something. I just didn't, whatever, it didn't click. But that was the first night. It was like, okay, you rage, and my best friend was a frat guy, and that's what they did, and so it was just kind of that fitting in. So that was the first puking at really bad hangover that lasted for, God, I don't even want to remember how long. But we talked about it like it was this great camaraderie, and we looked back at it with fondness, at least for the first couple of years or so, till those conversations kind of faded. So it didn't start off like in a what I thought could turn into what it ended up becoming.
Well, I mean, it's fun at the first bit. Like the first 5 minutes are amazing.
Oh. Yeah, which is really not like. I mean, I never liked the taste of alcohol, not one bit. I did well. I shouldn't say that. I did. I am one of those guys that can have a non-alcoholic beer with a steak or whatever. It doesn't trigger me. I have no desire. But I never liked hard alcohol, the taste of it. But it was choke it down. Yeah. And then those feelings can start, and then you can go talk to any woman in the bar or whatever it was. I was 22, insecure, backstage at concerts talking to big name rock stars, and I had to kind of kill that insecure kid that was like, they don't want anything to do with me. They want me to go the fuck away as quick as possible. And, and once it was like, wow, I'm partying and some of these guys want to hang out after the show. I'm in. I'm cool now, and it was that story that was going forever, as a kid that went through what I did, never felt like I fit in. And, I was a roamer in high school. I never really fit in any clique, but I kind of got along with everybody, so to speak. So, it's just like, wow, now I'm here, and now people know who I am, and they want to hang out with me, and famous, cool people want to hang out with me. So I must be doing something right.
So tell me how, and maybe I missed this part because sometimes I squirrel out. So if you already said this, I apologize. But how did you get into a position like you got into radio, and you're doing radio shows, and now you're introducing famous people onto the stage? How did that happen? Like, how did you walk through that door that led you to being on stage and talking with famous people all the time?
So I was going to college for film and television, and my minor was acting. Major was directing for the camera. And a friend of mine's band had some trouble setting up for a gig, and they're like, hey, can you kill time? And I was always comfortable kind of being a character. It was more being myself, I can play, doing a small part in Shakespeare or whatever. That was easy because that wasn't me. That was a character. So I just got up there and started stealing jokes from other comedians. And a guy came up to me and went, hey, you're funny. You want to work in radio? And I was like, hey, you want to buy me a Jack and Coke? And that's literally how it started. That's how it started. Yeah. And I interned for like a year and a half or something. And then they're like, hey, do you want a job? Fuck yeah, I want a job. Great. We're going to hire you. And you got to go host a concert series. It was like, uh-oh.
So,
so first thing showing up, shots. Here we go.
So Higgy already asked this question, but I'm going to throw it up here anyways because I think it'll be funny now. Higgy asks, did your career in radio help feed your addiction?
Yes. Yes, it did,
Yes,
my brother.
so much.
Yes. Yeah, because, so I started in Monterey, California, a bigger area, and then I moved to where I'm at now, Merced, which is a very small town. I think 75, 80,000 people, something like that. And so when I moved here, it was 17, 18 years ago, radio was still a big deal. So me and my co-host, we were doing a morning show and uh, killing it in ratings. And so whenever we went out, we never bought a drink. People wanted to buy us drinks, wanted to hang out, wanted to participate in the fun. And so all of a sudden, I became the cool kid, so to speak. I wasn't
Mhm.
having to go up and talk to girls. Girls were coming up and talking to me. So yeah, it definitely fueled it. And at that point, somewhere in the process, as my brain matured and I hit about 26, all of a sudden these traumas kind of started coming up, the way they affected me, the people I was choosing to be around, the relationships that I was in. And I was pretty good about finding toxic relationships that would last max 2 years.
Mhm. So looking back now, when did you when did you start to notice like that it was really going sideways for you? Now you just said 26, 27, but like when did you start to think that maybe you needed to take action?
Um, it was about another 5, 6 years, I think. It was after my kids were born. I was 30 when my oldest was born, 31, no, 32 when my youngest was born. And, the relationship that I was in, the marriage, it was tumultuous before all that. And I started to see it then, like, I don't wanna I started to see people pleasing. I would get "How come you can't just have 3 or 4 drinks like me?" And I
Mm,
was the excuse, "Well, 1, I'm 6'3", you're not,
mm,
I'm 180 pounds, you're not, I can process a six-pack like you can process 3 beers," or whatever it was. And I just got to a point of like, okay, can I take this out of the equation? And I was getting some help for the pornography stuff and going to a separate counselor um, for help for a lot of these childhood traumas. I was just starting to kind of remember a lot of the shit that went on and connecting the dots as I got closer to my dad, who's been sober 23 years now. Um,
mm,
Primarily methamphetamines. And as we got closer and he revealed more, I was connecting more dots in that time. And so a lot of these things really started to come to the surface, and I just didn't have the coping skills. I didn't have a partner that I could be vulnerable with. It was a shit show at home.
mm.
And I was just miserable. So I had some good sabbaticals at that time of, I think I went a nice 8 months, hit a couple of AA meetings. I did the wise guy shit of, well, I'm not like those guys,
Oh yes. Uh-huh.
and a couple of the old timers pulling me aside and all right, whatever. And then as my marriage deteriorated due to infidelity,
Hang on a second
you know, it,
before we go into that.
oh,
You had old timers pulling you aside. What were they saying?
There's a few of them that was just kind of the way I can recollect it was, like, "Hey, young buck, you may not have had the same things we've had happen yet, but
Mm,
I'm stressing to you yet."
mhm,
And they were right. At that point, I hadn't had any trouble, no DUI, no handcuffs strapped on me, nothing of that kind.
mhm,
And, I think they were really just trying to get through like, "Hey, this is a pretty good way." And one of them really, how did he say it? He dropped knowledge to me that once you get sober, all these other issues you're gonna start to recognize the source of them, primarily from you first, and then you're gonna set boundaries, and things will change for you. And I didn't wanna hear that at the time because I knew what that meant. I knew it would mean a divorce, splitting up my kid's family, all the guilt, all the shame, and everything. And I just wasn't
mhm,
ready. I wasn't ready to hear it. I still wanted to be able to go have fun. And so I
mm,
did after my divorce for another 4 years, I think, till some things started to cause problems. Right at the end of my divorce is when I, ended up in handcuffs, the DUI and the suicide attempt, which they all tied in together. I drove my car off the road on purpose, and I sent you some pictures of that for if you find them. But
Mm,
yeah, I mean, it was my way out.
yeah.
I didn't see any other solution. Sadly, it was in a blink of an eye coming back from buying more beer, and I wasn't loaded at the time. And when I say that, yes, I was drinking, but I wasn't, shithoused. I blew
Hmm.
just over the legal limit by the time the cops came, and for whatever reason, that power pole off to the side of the road sounded like a really good idea. And thank goodness I'm kind of a screw up because I couldn't get the seatbelt off in time. But it hit that power pole, knocked it down. Luckily, it was a dead power pole, so nobody else got hurt. No power was knocked out. Um, but it flipped the car, and here I am. I walk home just fine and covered in stickers, one flip flop on, and my phone thrown from the car. So by the time I got home and called, I was leaving the scene. So they took me away to the hospital, and then the court stuff started.
So this wasn't a premeditated thing at all. Like the thought hadn't crossed your mind until this point, till that point, and then it was just like, "Yep, that sounds good," and just like that.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
I did not want to go home. I was I was I was pretty good about putting on the mask, as we all do. I went to work. I was still a pretty high functioning individual. Was thriving in my radio career at the time. Because of the economy, we all got reduced. I was actually teaching marketing at a high school, and in the first year and a half there, they're like, "Hey, do you want to move to administration? And I think you should." And so I was a pretty good achiever with a lot of these things. But yeah, coming home, I didn't. It was hell. It was hell
Mm,
for me. I hated who I was there. The only thing I liked about myself in that house was being a dad, and it was pretty quick in the thought process. I remember looking off to the left, and I just stepped on the gas and turned that direction, and it
mm,
split second.
mm.
I was like, I don't want to drink anymore. I don't want to do this. I don't want to go home. I don't want any more of the fights and all the other horse shit that would go with it. And yeah,
Mm. Wow. So I've got some pictures here now. I'm just gonna have them on my screen. I'm gonna try to do it this way. So
okay.
is that's Steve O?
Steve O, yeah. Steve O dropped some sober knowledge on me. I unfortunately don't have a recording of it, but we did a radio interview, and
Uh-huh.
the language that I used, and afterwards he's like, "Are we recording anymore?" And no, and he goes, "Hey, if you're struggling, man,
Oh, look at that.
there is help."
There's Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, Chuck.
Let's see if I can make that big enough for people to see it. See, I'm trying to make up for my shortcomings right now. I should have had these loaded up into the computer so I could have displayed them properly, but I failed, so I'm trying to make up for it. I'm trying to find the
Dude, you're
pictures.
amazing.
Well, thank you. I'm trying to find pictures of the car.
Yeah, they're in there.
Let's see. Well, I'll keep scrolling.
Yeah,
I'll
you'll
find it.
find them.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you walked home from the car wreck. So did you go like flying out of the car and you're like, well, that didn't work, and then you just started walking home?
cracked the side window.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got knocked out for a brief moment. I was upside down. It flipped a car, so when
Mm-hmm.
it cracked the driver's side window, so I crawled out that way, and it was in a field. Probably I went in about a good 15 yards off of the road, and so yeah, so I didn't know what else to do. At that point, it's like it sobered you up, right? I mean, I know so many of us have those like, what the fuck just happened? And like you're
Yeah.
sober, the adrenaline's going or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I walked home, man. I was covered head to toe in dirt and thorns and everything else. I didn't, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, what just happened? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what decision did I make? And it's it's scary to look back on, and I know you've lost friends and I've lost friends to this disease that have
Yeah.
made that same choice, and that's literally just like how fast it was. It was blink of an eye decision that I had pondered. in some way, shape, or form, at different times.
So did you like when you woke up and you crawled out of the car and you're walking home and you're all, did you realize the decision that you had made, or did it take a while for you to realize, like, oh my God, I did that shit on purpose?
I realized that I wasn't going to be able to tell the people close that should have been close to me. It's weird how you can live with someone and they're not close. The truth that it was just an accident. I think I said a dog ran in front of me or some shit. I don't remember. It is a lie. And walking and going, wow, I've been looking for a way out. I am now going to get hit with some serious consequences that I deserve.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the realization that I came to. What have I just unraveled here that I am going to have to honestly pick up the pieces from?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I remember walking in, my kids, if I remember, were already asleep. Their mom just kind of coming on like, what the fuck happened to you? It wasn't even a mad or angry or anything else. And I explained,
Surprised?
and yeah. Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
wouldn't you? A dude comes,
Well, I don't
I'm
know.
literally covered in dirt, So I'm brushing thorns out of my head.
I mean, you're only telling us about this one time. Maybe you came home like that all the time. I don't know.
No, I definitely did some not coming home, like it, and just hey, I've had too much to drink. I'm going to stay at coworker X's house, which was always fact, but it was so I could get loaded more, and I just didn't really want to go home. It was like two factors. Like, you ultimately don't want to go home, and then you have this other excuse to numb out those feelings, because I'm a guy. We don't sit there and go, Daniel, I'm really unhappy in my marriage. This is just not a good place for me. I feel like my spirit is dying. I feel no connection anymore to a higher power. We didn't do that, right? We went, hey, give me another shot of whiskey and then chase it with a beer, and so yeah, that's what I did. That's what I thought. That's what I thought men do.
Yeah, and like from the outside, it looked to me like you had a pretty rockin' life, man. I mean,
Vinny. Yeah, that was a little before kids. I think I was 25, 26. Yeah, Vic Johnson, guitar player for Sammy Hagar's band. Tommy Lee, I think I was 28 there. Yeah. So Nikki Sixx, that was before I sober. If you pause on that one, you'll notice my head. I'm a little bloated there. That's when drinking really started to, where I would go days without eating, but I definitely could drink. And my
was Nikki sober
and everything
at this
time?
He
was sober. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was so I had yet to drink because I knew I was going to meet him. So I didn't want to disrespect him by having any booze on my breath. But that was a 6 a.m. show in San Francisco. And I got together with my old morning show partner and another buddy of mine from radio, good friend. And I got blackout drunk. So yeah, I remember most of the show. That's John Conley, guitar player for Seven Dust.
Wow. So all of the like a star-studded days, coming face to face, getting closer to people that it's tough to get close to, and then you end up where you were. Was that the reason you got locked up? Was because of the accident or the attempt?
Yes. So I ended up, it was one night, God, I was only in, I think 9 hours before bail. And then, then went home to the chaos that was, and it took about another 2 months for the carnage of all that and the marriage to start to dissolve. But that's the silver handcuff story, man. That's the silver bracelets.
Got a couple of comments.
Yeah, please. What else was I going to say? So I had to do, it cost me, I think, in all 10 grand. So all the fines, everything else, destruction of public property, probation, ankle monitor. That's really fun when you take your kids to school and it's here in the Valley, it gets like 112 and you're in sweatpants to hide the fucking ankle monitor, stuff to be really good and proud of as a parent. So, it was good times.
Donna's got something to say here? Hang on a second. There you go.
So I am also kind of good at squirreling out, and I've got like 3 screens with like 6 different screens on each of those. So forgive me if you've already mentioned this, but I'm curious, like when you went through court, did you admit that it was a suicide attempt, or did you stick to the like I was dodging a dog story?
They didn't even bring it up, Donna. And the interesting thing is the attorney, because I didn't get sober, by the way, mind you. That didn't get me sober. The attorney, the public, or not my public defender, but the prosecuting attorney, I was doing shots with 4 nights earlier for my
Wow.
case.
So did that help your case?
No,
Was he like?
wanted to throw. He wanted to throw the book at me. They wouldn't even listen about the fact that my phone was thrown in my car, which was I believe honestly the reason I did not call from the location I was at. So they wanted the leaving the scene of an accident, and that's really what they pushed more so than the DUI, because I think when I blew, I was just over the legal limit. Like I said, I had yet to kick in, and as someone that could, pound a 6-pack of beer in 5 minutes and not bat an eyelash, you wouldn't know a difference or change in behavior. Yeah. So that's really what they got me more, was the leaving the scene of the accident and the destruction of the property. They did want to send me to a place called Sandy Mush. I think they wanted me to do 3 weeks. If I remember, 21 days. Yeah. 1 day, for, because I had already been in that 1 day, they counted that. And so it was going to be 20 days of incarceration, and then got it reduced to just the ankle monitor probation that I had to report as something like 3 times a day. And the probation officer ended up stopping after like 2 weeks. I think he was tired of me asking, hey, can I go look at another house and I'll be here? And, it's like I was just on it. I was on it.
And sorry, and while you were on the monitoring, what was there any stipulation that, maybe some substance disorder help might be idealistic to help, like anything? Just
like, did you have
Yeah.
conditions that you had to like go to treatment or go to meetings or anything like that?
We had to do, I had to do DUI classes, which were taught by people that were in recovery and had been through similar situations, more extreme, less extreme, however you want to put it. And that, lasted for 2 months, and you couldn't miss a single one. They didn't care. Like if you lost a leg, they're like, nope, start all over, pay all over. So, I didn't miss a single one of those. Check in with the probation officer. And if the probation officer came by to check on me and they would test me, if there was anything, then it would have been where I had went to incarceration. So it actually helped. That was for the first time in a long time where I had a full, 21 days without drinking. Actually, I think I went a whole month and a half, if I remember.
So this wasn't the end of your drinking career, though. So
no.
So if that didn't do it, like, tell us about like what finally brought you into recovery. Was it like one pinnacle moment, or did you just have a series of events, or what was it?
Yeah, I noticed that life just, it wasn't going anywhere, Daniel. Like I was doing okay at work, and I had my kids at the time every other week, and so it really came down to, I think, near the end of taking them to schools. They ended up going on homeschool. I didn't take them one day because I was too hungover, and I was pretty good about not getting loaded when they were there. Doesn't mean I didn't drink, but I didn't get loaded. And so I didn't get up and get them out the door, and I literally had vertigo that morning, and I was hung over so bad that I couldn't take them to school. And that was the first time I returned to getting help, trying the program. And I lasted for about 2 years before I fell off, a little over 2 years.
I got a question coming in here. I want to get to it before we get too far ahead. Jolie, thanks for the question. Jolie asks, what was showing up emotionally during that 30 days where you were showing up to meetings and probation officers and stuff like that? Did you start to feel anything?
Great question. So like I said, I was growing up in the home of an addict. The language isn't always so kind towards you. And I found a relationship that would mirror that. So going
Mm,
through all that, all the abusive language towards me, I was believing. So for me, what was showing up emotionally and mentally was, yes, you are that fucking loser. Yes, you are that piece of shit. Yes, you will amount to nothing. And um, really, I had a gentleman who was integral to actually got me to my first meeting, took me, a gentleman named Pastor Bruce Logue. And he just said, "Hey, come to his service." And so I started going to some services at his church and finding fellowship there. And so that was kind of where, there was some
mhm,
things where it was, "Hey, I love you, this Bruce. You have some issues underneath. We can work through those. You can
mm,
do something about them." And I did really good, and then I got arrogant, and and then eventually, fell off again and was
mhm,
out there partying again for, another 3 years or so before I was like, "Oh, here I am. I'm gonna lose everything again."
mhm. So
But,
go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, but as I say, Jolie, emotionally, some people I know that say I used to numb out. For me, I used to feel. I was so numb in daily life. Like I was stoic. I was just very, yeah, I can do that. Okay. The only time I wasn't was really with my kids. Everybody else, it was just, there was not much of a sense of humor. I'd be jovial around work sometimes, but yeah, for me, so it was kind of a scary time of mm, not wanting to feel, I just felt like I had to put a coat of armor onto everything just to get through the next day.
But you're
I
hang on,
yeah.
that's really interesting to me. Like you had to put a coat of armor on, but that coat of armor wasn't not feeling. It was actually trying to feel. The alcohol helped you feel, or at least that's what you thought at the time. Do you still believe that? Or were you
No.
fooling yourself?
Oh, they're full of shit. Totally
Yeah.
full of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was being just completely disingenuous. I was playing a character. How could I be, all I was feeling was and I don't know about you, but so many of us in recovery can be very empathic and just empathetic to others. And so it'd be like, oh, this person wants me to be funny. This person wants me to listen right now. And so when I was out, I could just, everybody would be like, hey, all right, Jason's here. Great. Or,
Mhm.
and Susie would walk over and, yeah, George and I split up again. Oh, Susie, I'm so sorry. What's going on? Why is that? So no, I was just being full of shit, just playing a bunch of characters. All of my
Mhm.
emotions had become fake.
Mm.
I think the
So,
only genuine time was with my children.
yeah. Now, that wasn't okay, so that wasn't what finally did it. So, what finally did it? Like what brought you into
Uh,
the stint of recovery that you have today? Like not what's going on today, but what.
yeah. So went through another terrible relationship that ended. Had about a year and a half year of sobriety, then Knockin Doorz Down started. I got asked to do this podcast. And looking back, I was just once again being a dry drunk. I wasn't really working it. I wasn't working the program. I'm a 12-step guy. They work amazing for me. I think it should be taught in schools.
Mhm.
Um, and so I fell off again February 15th. So coming up this February 15th will be 2 years. And that simply was boundaries. I had yet to figure out what a fucking boundary was and what it meant for me. I was still willing to take the abuse, especially from uh, women, like thinking, "Oh, this is just how they talk," because I was in a 10-year relationship that's the way it was. And it was like, woke up the next day going, "No, this isn't how it is." And I'd spoken to two gentlemen that night that got me stopped drinking, and then one of them became my sponsor and was like, "We're going to work this program, man." And I finally, for once, had a tough sponsor. The first
Mm.
time around, my sponsor, he was 9 years sober and he ended up falling off. And so it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's
Mhm.
just what we do. So And not to demean him, as far as I know, he's totally back on track and doing amazing. I don't mean to come across demeaning falling off. It was just for me an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
He had done that.
Mm-hmm.
This is all the reason.
Got a comment coming in from our friend Sharon. Sharon, good to see you tonight. Sharon says, thing is, whatever it takes to stay clean and sober is in us. As an Indigenous professor, it is our spirits that need healing, one day at a time, looking 7 generations ahead to pave the path for others.
Mm.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So you are the sit down and shut up kind of program guy then. You had a tough sponsor. That's what I get from that. And I am not, that's what worked for me. Sit down, shut up, read this, now write. Now do, like I needed that. I didn't need my hand held. I needed my ass kicked. So now, but you didn't buy into it right away. Or this last time you went to the program, did you finally like buy into it, or did you have to get dragged in kicking and screaming?
I was 100% in. I was all about it.
Just done.
Once my sponsor now, he's amazing. He was like, he was so unjudgmental. He's like, dude, he's been a guest on my podcast. His stories, it's gnarly. He's like, dude, my story. How am I going to fucking judge you?
We should get him on Hard Knocks and ask him how full of shit you are.
Right. He's helped me filter out a lot of that bullshit to myself, which I still have moments, and I'm like, oh motherfucker, but no, he was just straight up about it, like, not insulting my first sponsor, but he's like, how long was you your sponsor? Over a year. How far are you in the steps? I'm like, well, we got through to 4 and talked about doing 5 and 6. And he's like, no, forget it, dude. You're the kind of guy we're going to barrel through it. And we did it all 12. And I think it was 2.5, 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed that. Like, this is when I'm going to call you. You know how crazy my schedule is. He works for a big rock band touring and stuff, and the kids, the missus, and all this. And he's like, when I call you, when we set this appointment, you're going to make that appointment. I don't care what it was. And I needed that. I needed that accountability. That was the one thing that was still missing for me, was like being accountable to somebody else, and valuing time in general, let alone someone else's. But yeah, man, he took me through him. He was rigorous, and I got connected with a ton of people. And I think I didn't do a 90 and 90, but I did whatever every weekday would equate to, because I was like, I needed to set time aside for my kids with the work schedule. So yeah, it was bananas, man, but it was great in the best way you can think of. It was a totally different kind of like, not chaos, but
kinda
it kind of was chaos, because you're stepping into this new thing and people are throwing so much at you in a great way, and calling you out on your shit.
That's painful. Screw those guys, man.
Right.
Don't they know
you don't know
who I think I am?
You don't know my life.
You don't know me.
And so many of them did. They've been there. They get it.
So where did the rubber hit the road for you? There's different steps that really open up people's eyes in different ways. Like where was it that your eyes began to actually open and you began to actually feel that the sunshine of the spirit, they like to call it?
Yeah, I was mountain biking with some friends of mine, and it doesn't matter where we're at, but I just got off the bike and I took my shoes off and my socks, and I just kind of stood there and felt the dirt and everything below my feet, and just kind of seeing the sun, and there was something about that moment that it was I never felt that. I didn't know what it was at first, but for once I felt hope. I felt like there was something more to do, that that I was worth more than just waking up, earn some money, pay these bills, and die. And I had felt that forever. And of course, called my sponsor. He's like, I think he just had what we call a spiritual, I'm getting chills under this jacket, spiritual awakening, my brother. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, you started to feel that something else that you don't know what it is loves you, and that you got more of a purpose than, like, like I said, to just wake up, pay the bills, earn the money, pay the bills, and die.
Mhm.
And yeah, Whew. It was pretty damn cool, my brother. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's when it really took off. I was like, wait a minute, I can explore something else here, like this spirituality thing. I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic school for a year, and I did communion and all that stuff. But I was, it just never sat within me. I'm like, wait a minute, there's a higher power, or higher powers that love me and want to do something through me. Like I get to do business for you. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Like I get to go out and just like do the next right thing, keep doing the
Mhm.
next right thing, and somehow I'm
Gonna be
being
okay.
what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
everything's gonna be okay. And and
Yeah.
and and oddly enough, wait a minute, you're also telling me that when I do this and I focus on being there for others, not selfish shit, not through my ego, that stuff's gonna come back to me tenfold?
Mhm.
Okay. You all right, I'm in. I'm
Mhm.
in. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
And boy, that helped get through those making amends.
Yeah. So at
uh,
what point of the
whew.
steps were you in? Yeah, let's take a minute. Let's
Oh,
take a minute. We got
uh,
Rebecca here saying, "Love you, brother. I always prayed for you." Rebecca
oh,
Hannam. Yeah, I hope I said that right,
Henneman.
Rebecca.
Yeah, that
Henneman. There we go.
we
We got
worked together in radio. It's one of my best friends, and would sit and actually talk with me about God and Jesus, and just her faith and sharing that. She's just always been there, and through the hard times, would watch my kids and have them hanging out with her grandkids. And
Mhm.
wow, I'm honored that she's on today. Yeah, such a beautiful person.
Yeah, yeah. So at what point in the steps were you? Like, do you think that that experience that you had a correlation with where you were in your program and on your journey? Or do you think that was just a gift that was given to you?
I had yet to believe that there would be a higher power that could remove my defects.
Okay. So you're still
Yeah,
early on in the
I had a
steps
tough,
then.
yeah, I had a tough time with that. I just had a tough, I believe that there was something greater than all of us, whatever it is. Um, but I didn't believe it loved me. And it was the
Mm,
first time it's kind of like, okay, maybe something does love me, you
mm.
know? Maybe, there is a better, higher purpose here that I
So,
just, like I said, get to kind of channel some stuff through me, man. And okay, or woman, or
mhm.
it, or however you want to classify
Whatever.
it,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
whatever. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I don't care. It could be, could be the highlighter here. Okay.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
told someone, hey,
Tell me what to do, highlighter.
yeah,
Tell me. Tell me right now. Fix all my
yeah,
problems.
yeah. I mean, have you had new timers that struggle with it too? And you're like, I don't know, pray to a pen, pray to whatever at first, just
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
pick something.
So the thing that where the rubber hit the road for me in step 2 was there's two parts. It was like coming to believe that something other than myself, bigger than myself, could restore me to
Mm.
sanity. But before that could happen, I had to admit that I was in fact insane.
Yeah.
So was that a thing for you? Like did you at
Oh
that
yeah.
point before that experience were you like, I'm not crazy. I don't need something bigger to save me.
No, at the end, I knew I
No,
was.
yeah,
I
I know
remember,
you is crazy.
yeah, yeah. I remember being shithouse drunk by myself in my house, looking at the mirror and yelling at that person like at the top of my lungs, and then waking up
Mhm,
the next day like, what the fuck were you doing? Like,
mhm,
yeah, I was completely to the point of insanity. I was
mhm,
completely to the point of insanity for the decisions I continued to make
mhm,
without a drink in me. You know, eh, relationship decisions, of, how I operated with money, the lack of boundaries, all of it. I mean, it's all insanity to
mhm,
me. And, I, I kind of feel like, hey, I'm on that path of being restored to sanity. I set boundaries now, and I understand, they might come with a consequence concerning that person, but oh well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
no period is my answer. I'm sorry.
Mm.
Yeah, so for me, it was really that last. Although I do not ever recommend relapsing, for me it was a lesson that I was still in my addiction. It was not part of my recovery. I kicked my recovery out. My ego was out, was back in full swing, and everything else again had
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with recovery. Had nothing to do with having a higher power, and it
Mm-hmm.
certainly wasn't a sane choice.
Mm. So, okay, you have this experience, and you came to believe, at least in some way. Where did you go from there? What was the next big stone for you? Because I know a lot of people say step 4, step 5. I know. Where was it for you? You just mentioned step 9.
Yeah, the making amends.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought that there were some people that I needed to, and then I came to realization, no, no, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing here, and it wasn't because making amends with them could potentially hurt them, cause them harm. It's just someone was like, no, I'm sorry. Yeah,
And
you
boundaries.
you you were, yeah, you were using me.
Yeah,
This was a
yeah,
symbiotic thing. I use you, you use me. There's nothing to
we're good.
apologize here for. Yeah, I'm not gonna wish you any harm. But I'm also not gonna be hitting you up anymore either. It's pretty
Uh-huh.
easy. Block, delete. There you go. So
It's interesting that when we talk about step 9, you say that a moment of growth for you was realizing who you didn't need to say sorry to. Am I picking that
hmm
up right?
yep, yeah,
Hmm,
spot on.
cool.
Spot on. And like you said, it's a part of boundaries. It was
Mm-hmm.
just, there was people that they hated that I was in my disease, but yet they loved it at the same time. They didn't like when it had ramifications towards them, but they liked it when it was the good, fun side of it, or having a lack of boundary, and they liked that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm not. You snorted me. I was your drug. I was one of your drugs. You're not gonna snort me. I'm sorry, and I'm not gonna owe you an apology. You know.
Ain't nobody gonna snort me.
Yeah. Ain't no one snorting this man. Yeah, I'm not gonna apologize. Like, yeah, like
Yeah.
why should I apologize? There's no point because there's never gonna be camaraderie again between us. And in me apologizing, like it wouldn't do anything. They're not gonna recognize it. And I know these primary, there's about 5 of them that they'll
Mm-hmm.
never own any of the stuff. So what's the point? I know it. I've unloaded the baggage,
Mm-hmm. Got a
you know?
comment. Got a question coming in here. Question from Crystal. Crystal, thank you so much for the question. Crystal asks, I've been sober for 1 year. It's been easy so far. I'm scared when it will get hard. Do you feel the same way?
For one, Crystal, 1 year, I don't know. You've already done pretty awesome. You've gone through some, I mean, easy, then if it's easy, you got this. Um,
Mm,
uh, yeah, again, don't say that
yeah.
I got this because I said
Yeah.
that. That's an ego-driven statement.
Yeah.
You know what, Crystal? Honestly, I'm going through one of the hardest situations I've ever been faced with in my life, and I just know that picking up a drink or a drug is a solution to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've got a fellowship of amazing people that I'm now connected to. You know, it's not just about being sober; it's about being connected. I mean, Daniel, like I said, we live 2,000 miles away, and I adore this
Mm-hmm.
man and the work that he's doing. And yeah, so I don't I don't fear it like I used to because I remain connected and I make sure to reach out and I make sure to know that my value isn't simply wake up, earn a paycheck, pay the bills, and go to sleep. I have people around me that I can care about deeply, that I show up for, that care about me and show up for me. As simple as shooting them a text, telling them I love them, or like my friend Rebecca, tuning in, watching. Um, so it's I think the more transformative stuff like we have like that, don't you think, Daniel? It's just like it,
Yeah.
it I have some of the dark dreams still, like, oh my God, I woke up and I'm like, did I drink? No, thank God. But
Mhm.
no matter what I'm going through, the emotional pain that I'm in, it just that idea that it was a solution, it's just not there anymore, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
For
You
now.
know,
And if it comes
yeah, for
back,
for
I'll call
today.
you in Saskatoon. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for today. A wise man once told me, and I forget who it was, but I'll never forget. He said, "Dan, the the best thing any of us can ever hope to be is of some use." You know.
Yeah.
So you got through your step 9, and that's interesting. I haven't thought about step 9 like that for a while, but I'm pretty sure that I did with one of my sponsors at one time. Like I think it was my very first one. He was like, "No, you don't need to say sorry to that person. No, no, oh, but you definitely need to say sorry to that one for sure."
Yeah.
So
Uh,
yeah. But yeah,
well,
but
there
this always here. Hang on, before we go, and I know if
Go ahead.
anyone's listening to this and they're not watching, see this plant right here? It's being keyed out. It's being keyed out. You recognize that plant, don't you? Don't you? You do.
Uh, yeah, I didn't. My plants never made it. I do not have a
You
green
actually,
thumb.
I could not. I can't kill this thing. Like you must have really,
Really?
really neglected that poor plant. Because like I
Oh,
can't.
yeah. It's out in
Yeah,
the sun, man. Out in
yeah.
the
So
sun, way too
for
much.
for anyone who might not know, this plant, it's right sitting over here now. It's in the studio here. I got that clipping. It apparent the legend has it that the original plant was in Bill Wilson's bedroom, hospital room, where he died. That is the legend. You didn't know that?
I didn't know that about your plan. I thought it was just one where your sponsor was like, "Hey, keep this alive for a year before you consider dating or anything else."
Oh no, 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 no. This is look it up.
Wow.
I think it's called a creeping Charlie. I think that's the. But yeah, no, that
Okay.
yeah. So, but I got this plant. I got my clipping when I did my step 9 with Donna all those years ago. And then a
I'll
vicious
be
court battle
damned.
broke out and bad things happened. And now we're here.
And I love that about you guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
What a
shit!
wild ride
Us
it has
too.
That's good
been.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It's a hell of a
Uh,
story, man. Like Hard Knocks Talks was not built on a fluffy little pillow of comfort and luxury. I'll tell you that.
Nothing worthwhile is, right?
No, 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 no. What else? Where else can we go? Okay, so you got through your step 9. Now into step 10. Tell us about your maintenance. Like, what do you do today for spiritual maintenance? Like, when you start going sideways, where is the first place you turn?
Uh, the Serenity Prayers become like my best friend. There's a reason we do it. Really, I mean, break it down. It's a blueprint for life. You know, control the controllable. You know, control the controllable. What's in your power? What's not in your power? You know, um, and a lot more growth. I mean, I'm in a great place relationship wise with someone that, boy, her faith, man, she's just like my backbone at times when I've been lost in some of this stuff, and just literally like, hey, can I pray on this? Can I, can I pray for the health of your parents? Can I pray for the kids? Can I pray? And just like, wow. So it's like that beautiful gift in my life, and just the vulnerability has been huge, and I just stay connected to community. I never thought I would get on the phone with a dude that's tatted sleeves both sides, chest, whatever it is, and like, hey man, what's up, bro? Let's talk about God. Yeah.
And my
Like anything else?
feelings.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, just
Yeah.
God and my feelings.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, like these conversations have changed, you know? I don't get involved in these bullshit conversations anymore.
Mm.
Beyond that, I have a really amazing group that it's a mixed group that we do, like it's more crosstalk than a share type meeting. And, we've really been there for each other, and doing some different forms of therapy. And one of them's like story therapy. If people aren't familiar, I won't go into it, but essentially the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves and situations, really reframing it and pulling positivity out of it. and meditation, breath work today. My girlfriend Cassandra and I did an hour-long breath work session. It was fucking gnarly and awesome. Like afterwards waking up and I'm like, oh, I just getting up from it, not waking up, but getting up from it. So it's just been a lot of pushing in those kind of directions for me, being more conscious of our health. Like, I don't know about you, Daniel. I didn't hit a doctor in my addiction. Did you?
Sorry, what? I wasn't paying attention. A comment popped up right when you said like the last sentence that you said there. I was with you until the last sentence. I'm sorry.
So I said, did you, getting to the doctor, I didn't get to the doctor in my addiction. Did you?
Well, only when I needed pills.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
there was that.
I didn't like the pills.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love the pills. Love the pills. Yeah.
People don't, they're like, how? I'm like, okay. So true story, when I got my vasectomy and they gave me the Vicodin and I went to take it with beer and it made me throw up. I was like, all right, I guess pills aren't for me. So thank goodness, because boy, I probably would have been off to the races too.
Boy,
man.
I wish I had had those wits.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, the impulsivity actually played in your favor for once, eh?
Right. Yeah.
But oddly, I threw up. I'll just do some more. Maybe that'll make me feel better.
Oh, there's room for more pills now.
Well, Donna, you got to remember, it usually took me anywhere from like 15 to 30 beers before I threw up. If I threw up. At the end, it's like, no, nothing was going to make me throw up. Some dry heaving in the morning, yes, but
surprisingly, for how big she is, she could hold it down, man. Like she could hold it down. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
that was actually like that was like a thing. Like everybody was always so impressed with how much I could do.
And I was like, that's my girl.
Isn't it funny the shit that we bragged about, right?
Oh man.
Like,
yeah.
And then I'd have like drinking contests with dudes that were bigger than me, like just haul the beer, like chug it and like win. And people would be like, "That's so fucking awesome. Oh my God, you're the coolest."
Yeah. And then we get into recovery, and like this is me, like for me, in the rooms, for example, we get into recovery, and then we're competing about who had the worst life or who was the best at being bad.
Right.
Who was the best gangster? Who hurt the most people? Oh, you didn't hurt your wife. You know what I mean? Like, holy cow, that ego, it takes a while to go away. Yeah. You don't know me. I've seen some shit.
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't thought about that in a while. Like the competition of war stories,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I've sat down with Bam Margera and Brandon Novak. I'm not fucking winning. It's like I'm sorry.
You drank with them?
No, I meant like sober. Sat down with them.
Oh, yeah. The war stories. Yeah. Good luck with that.
So yeah. So my former co-host Mikey and we went to Castle Bam in Philadelphia, and they broke into the war stories, and I'm like, I'm not saying shit. Like I am not winning here. I'm sorry. I never did blow off a stripper's ass. I'm not.
Wow.
So it's like So it's just that's funny, Daniel. I've not thought about the competing war stories in a while. That doesn't happen anymore.
I know, right? Yeah. No,
and
it just sort of evolved on its own to coming to a place where I'm genuinely not interested in competing in that way anymore,
Yeah.
And if I'm not sure if that happened on its own or if it's as the result of the work that I've done. But I'll tell you this though, I do need to start working on my program a little more. Has there been any times since this last time that you've started to drift away from your program and you caught yourself?
Yeah. When I started at the nonprofit I work with whatever way, Paying Parents and Addicts in Need. And I'm a binger. I just have to accept that about myself. That's still an area I struggle. I binge content. I be it TV, podcasts. Like I'll probably drive you nuts here in about a month or so, where I'll binge yours and I'll listen to like 30 episodes and that's it. And
I'd be really happy if you commented on each one of them and then left me a 5-star review.
All right, I can do that.
I won't tell anybody about. I won't tell anybody about your binging if you give me lots of comments. It'll be our little secret.
All right. No, I already left a 5-star.
Thank you.
Spotify, right? Yeah, because Spotify doesn't do comments. I'll have to do
Right.
it on Apple. Anyways, that's
Anyways.
neither here nor there. But no, when I was working there, I was finding that, okay, now all of a sudden I'm helping people like more directly than ever. Not just, in a meeting and talking and texting like, hey, Bob, your share was a little heavy. You cool? Yeah, man, I'm cool. But
Mhm.
like actually helping. And my boss there, the founder, Flint Anderson, who you're gonna meet,
Nice.
opioid addict. Yeah, we call him the opioid king of Fresno County. He said to me, he goes, "Hey, I want you to make me a promise." And I go, "All right, Flint, like, I'm expecting something." He goes, "Don't make this work your sobriety. This is
Mm.
not your sobriety.
Mhm.
You are just here helping other people and being a service." And I was like, "Oh shit, I better
Mhm.
hit a meeting. I better
Mhm.
call my sponsor. I better break open the book." Or on the way home, because I have an hour commute, I've got the big book on Audible.
Mhm.
You know, give
And
it a
I've
listen. It
I've I've
yeah.
heard sponsors, or not sponsors, sorry. I've heard counselors and like healthcare professionals and stuff from in recovery say that same thing too. Like, yes, I am of service. Yes, I'm helping people, but it's I have to differentiate. I can't allow that to become my healing. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
totally guilty of it. And
Yeah.
and and I think that's so important, because what if it was, these unfortunate situations with the fentanyl crisis, and as
Mm.
we're figuring out, different modalities of harm reduction and everything else, that what if it was this family that it just touched my heart and they lost their child, and I was being fragile in my recovery.
Mhm.
That would be something that would crush me personally, that I could see putting a chink in the armor, where could be a thing where I'm, you know, messaging a
Mhm.
friend, "Hey, I fell off again." And so that was an amazing lesson. Just like, my servitude wasn't my recovery. I still got to work mine. No matter
Mhm.
how much I say valid things to so many, to one person, to 1,000 people, it doesn't matter. I still have to do my shit
Just
and check myself every damn day.
yeah, say them to yourself.
Yeah.
Can I just
Yeah.
interject briefly here? Because I don't think it came up in our VMix feed, but Boyce has said, "Thank you, Jason, for being so supportive over the last couple of years. Big part of
Mm.
why I'm sober."
Mm.
Boyce,
Oh,
what's up, my
man.
friend?
Giving me the chills, Boyce, and I love you. Beautiful man. I'm looking forward to talking with Boyce soon too. We're gonna have him on one of the other podcasts that I do, and then if I can get him out to California, we'll have him come in studio. I haven't done
Well,
it
if
in
you're
studio
if
in
you're
a while.
bringing people
Can
out
we
to
come?
California, I was just gonna say, like, well, come, let's go. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not paying for him to come out, but
Oh, thought you
yeah,
were
I'm
cool,
not rolling
man.
in some cash. But no, boys, thank you for sharing that, man. You've helped me, whether you realize it or not, man.
Mhm.
You've helped me, and I think that's that weird thing about how it comes back to us, right? Like, it's amazing to make the acquaintanceship with so many wonderful people. That it just, yeah. So I love you, boys. You helped me, brother. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, man. I think we'll cap it there. I think we burnt up an hour, believe it or not.
Wow.
So yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Time
yeah,
flies. All
yeah,
right.
man. Cool. But before we let you go, is there anything that you'd like to leave us with tonight?
Yeah. Let me give a little thought and a breath. Don't
We'll
be
look at it.
afraid to ask for help. Like, if you know you're suffering, and it doesn't mean you have to be active in your addiction using that substance. If it's something like this, like the question Crystal had, or geez, Boyce reaching out to me. I mean, Daniel, we have mutual friends that have fallen off in the last 6 months. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Mhm.
Just don't. Especially, Donna, you got to tell me. I don't know how it is with women. I primarily work usually with men, but we have this stigma that we got to be all these different things as men. It's like, let that veil down. Be vulnerable. I mean, I know you guys joke about your relationship, but you wouldn't have be where you are if you hadn't gotten vulnerable, right?
That's
And there's
right.
something about being genuine, authentic, and vulnerable that it's just, you find at that point, when you especially with yourself, you just don't have time for bullshit anymore. You
Mhm.
just start not caring, and
And
it's
that's
such a
beautiful.
beautiful gift. Oh, it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
I
You
know,
get
like
real joy.
the first time that someone was mad at me and I still had a good day, that was a beautiful day, man. Like I smiled that whole day. That person was pissed.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get to feel joy, like real
Yeah.
joy.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it. I went 15 years without knowing what about 15 years without knowing what the fuck joy was. I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, this is joy.
Mhm.
I didn't need a dopamine hit. I didn't need a drug, alcohol, anything else to put in my body. I'm just like, wow, I'm in a moment of joy. Like
Mhm.
actually in the moment, present in the moment, joy. Like this is fucking awesome.
I remember the first time
Like,
and then we gotta go. But I remember the first time
all
that
right.
happened to me. Yeah, I thought I was having like an anxiety attack or something. Like I'm like, what
Oh,
is
really?
this? I was sitting in an office. I was going to go and like work off a ticket or something. I was getting signed up to go work off a ticket that I got in my addiction. And I'm like, and I was sitting in this office and like suddenly like I didn't feel shitty and I didn't feel like full of anxiety and or I didn't feel like I didn't know what was wrong. I thought something was going wrong. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm happy.
Oh, I love it,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, man.
That's the power.
So,
So
yeah.
yeah, ask for help. Don't sit there silently. Your voice matters and you matter. So please speak up, reach out, hit a meeting, talk with there's so many of us. We'll connect you. Trust me.
Mm,
Just
awesome.
know you're worth it. All right. I love you
Awesome.
guys. You guys are beautiful. I hate that I live here. You're in Saskatoon and we can't go break bread together, but we will someday.
Oh, you ain't seen the last of us, brother. But that's it for now. So thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to definitely talk again, my friend. So take care for now.
Yes, sir.
All right. If you're getting something out of what we're doing here tonight, you can find all our audios on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts or live and interactive right here on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch TV. Thanks again for watching. Take care, my friends. Good night.